telling people how to fix their suffering. Well, I'm in a really sad situation, stuck working in corroding sanitation. Dictator bird of prey 5 makes me mop this floor. Even if I do it well, he just works me more. But he'll have me whipped if he hears me whine, or worse, let me work in his uranium mine. I need advice, dear Bob, dear Bob. Dear Bob, please help me life swap. I'm tired of cleaning big slop, and the pain here is non-stop. I hope you let me. I tried to run away, but the minefield might blow me up. Dear Bob, help me get loose, dear Bob. Oh, the abuse, dear Bob. Dear Bob turned out to be a bunch of lies. He was vertebrae 5 in disguise. You know he doesn't treat defectors well. He locked me up in a corroded jail cell. Dear Bob, dear Bob. Now the anti-tracker knew dear Bob was a fraud. He had Thomas Potts in the Turtle Steady Rescue Squad. When they broke me out, vertebrae was annoyed. He chased us but crashed into an asteroid. Dear Bob, dear Bob. Dear Bob, now he's a big flop, just a liar on a laptop. Thought he owned me, but he did not. For his evil helped me escape the bird cop. Then bird became a grease spot. Dear Bob, I'm free from you, dear Bob. Free from you, dear Bob, dear Bob. AT gave me a new job, to the steady secretary of art. I don't have to push aim up now. We internal stash. Champagne bottles always pop, and we drink till the last drop. Thank God, I'm through, dear Bob. Oh, I'm through, dear Bob. Oh, I'm through, dear Bob.
Hey guys, Michael J. Crawford, the anti-tricker here. Good to see you all. I see that Bradley was actually first in the house. Good to see you, Bradley. Thomas was a quick second saying hello. Cinnamon says hi. Thomas says you're early. WTF. Hey, it happens. Sorry. Renegade says, afternoon, anti-tricker fellow nerds. How you doing, Renegade? Thomas says, Mr. Lundell's watching a movie with Shatner called The Devil's Run, and you were in it. I was in it. Really? I don't remember being in that movie. And Bird O Prey 5 is up past his bedtime. Says, something is different, but can't put my finger on it. And yeah, I wouldn't want to put my finger on that. Just come to think of it. Wait a minute. Why is this? Let's see. Is that? Hold on. I thought. Fellow nerd. Why is? Trying to figure out why the screen looks weird to me. Let me see. That is, oh, okay, so it's like, let me move that a little bit. Trying to make this, like, look all nice and neat. Okay. Anyway, Yeah, Bert, so good to see you, my feathered friend. And then, let's see. Seems normal to me. Brian says, howdy-ho, everybody. Good to see you, Brian. Chief Cook says hi to Bird. Tom says, flame you. Well, I've been just glancing. It's finally the reviews are starting to come in for Lower Decks Episode 3. And I know people will be shocked to hear this, but it looks like the people that have liked all the new Trek are saying it's awesome. The people that in the Fandom Menace are saying it sucks. I haven't watched any, like Mecha Random says F Episode 3 is what it says on her little icon there, or thumbnail. Let's see. And Doomcock says, Star Trek Lower Decks Temporal Edict, best Kurtzman Trek yet, and it stinks. So, yeah, I'd somehow, completely unbiased opinions coming from the Fandom Menace. And, I love you guys, but dang, really? I mean, come on, give credit where credit is due. This one was funny, and I'm sorry if you... whatever. I mean, the problem is, and honestly, I think this is the problem with a lot of people that don't like this show in general, but episode 3 in particular, because I understand, episode 1 and 2, I was like, but episode 3, I think, was genuinely funny. And if you're going to sit there and hate on it like that, to me, that's just telling me that you're either taking it too seriously or you're just hating it to hate it. One of those two things. Tom says, yeah, this is an old man within the movie. Okay. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Anyone know if Doomcock mentioned my super chat yet? I fell asleep while listening. I did not. And I was not watching, so I didn't know anything about it. I was working. Ad explores a list of movies Bird of Prey never heard of course. Mortimus says, good evening, how you doing? Bob Nixon says, I haven't seen Lower Decks yet. I don't have CBS All Access. Well, it's funny, because episode 1 and 2, I gave a 6 out of 10. And from me, that's not a stellar review. That's just saying it's better than watching paint dry. That's the analogy I use all the time, and that's what I'm sticking with. Episode 3, however, I thought was genuinely funny all the way through. And I get it that some people, like, some of the things that people don't like, I think they're taking it too seriously. But that's okay if that's just a matter of taste. And I can understand if you just don't like it. But it really does seem to me like some of the stuff coming from the Phantom Menace is just feeling forced. And at this point, honestly, from some of them, just plain old fake. Hey, Antrager, is Sato in Enterprise Mirror Darkly the grandmother of Section 31 Mirror Lady in Discovery? That we were talking about that the other day, Brian. There's nothing canonical about that, but it does kind of sort of seem to make sense. And obviously, I don't know if the widget is fixed. Oh, no, let me, hold on. So thank you, Fed, for that 10 Australian dollars. I do truly appreciate it, but give me just a second to try and fix the dashboard, because for all I know, Joe Biden has donated too. Now, I don't know if he's I've been watching the convention, but let me see here. Give me just a minute. Bear with me. And there's Fed's thing. So now let me go to... I know. Let's try this. Hold on. Give me just a minute. I'm going to play a super chat.
It is quite a bit in seeing Mario put her in place at bloody last, and Boyle finally getting a win.
No. Why would you do this to your fans, you heartless monster?
All right, so the reason I played that was so that I could copy and now paste as new source. All right, and now let's try it. Come on, you gonna work? Hey, it worked. Okay.
I got it.
Although it's way too big, but at least I got it to work. All right. Now, why didn't it read it that time? I don't know. But at least I got it to work. All right. So thank you, FedDoc. Sorry for being all distracted there. Okay. So first of all, no, Brian, it's not. There's nothing canonical, but it does make sense. Bird says Doomcock did give credit. Several scenes in the episode are as genuinely good. Really, well, because and this is the problem though. Then why does he put it stinks in the name of it. All right, and that's the thing. He's just doing it to appease people that want the hate then. And I'm sorry, that's wrong. If he's actually giving it a neutral or semi-positive review, then he should be honest in the thumbnail and stuff rather than, try to, because to me, that's straight up clickbait then, honestly. And I'm not ashamed to say, I love Doomcock. I truly love his channel. But if I haven't watched his review of it, that's one of the things I want to do. But if he is not, if he's not beaten up on it through his review, then why is he saying that it sucks in the name of the video? Still no word on international release. I have not heard a thing. Anyway, so Fed did put in $10. Says, all right, where do you want the flame waffler? Finally saw Lower Decks. Is it wrong that I'm delighted quite a bit in seeing Mariner put in her place at bloody last and Boimer finally getting win? No, I love that. Honestly, Fed, episode 3, I really, really liked. And it was funny because as I was watching it, I was sitting there thinking the whole time, okay, when is Mariner going to save the day? When is she going to save the day? And then the credits are rolling and I'm sitting there in disbelief saying, wait a minute, no, that can't be right. And I finally kind of figured it out after the fact. It's like, they've been poking fun at all these different Star Trek tropes in Lower Decks. And I think the trope that they were actually subtly trying to get a dig in at was the Mary Sue trope, which has been plaguing New Trek. Jeff Franklin in the house says, last and least. Wrong and wrong. You are neither last nor least. Last is yet to be determined. Least, well, we all know that that's Wesley Crusher, but Andy Trucker, you like Star Trek Lower Decks? You're agonizer, sir. Well, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I like Lower Decks. I'm saying I liked episode 3. Episode 1 and 2, better than paint dry, but not much else. Episode 3, I actually did like it. Hey, Enter, how's the old 3D printing going? Actually, very well. Most of the 3D printer has been busy working on the super secret project that me and Life and Matthew are working on. And that's why I haven't been showing you guys anything. When you see it, it's going to be amazing. And I may get a massive upgrade to the 3D printing in the very near future. We're trying to sell a camper that we have. I shouldn't say camper, it's a motorhome. We got it many years ago when we moved from Oregon to Tennessee. And in fact, we got it specifically for the move because we needed something that was big enough to fill with stuff and pull a trailer filled with stuff, including a car. And we managed to do that. We got everything into the motorhome and into the trailer and moved cross country. We used the motorhome on a couple other trips, but it's been sitting in the driveway collecting dust for literally 3 years. And this guy said, you know what, if I could get it to start, he would buy it. And so I went and got some batteries, put some new batteries in there, and started up like bam. And Joe Biden donates $1. Thank you so much.
Why would I give you money? I don't know who you are. Like I said in my Oscar speech last night, there's never been anything we've been able to accomplish when we've done it together. Have a happy birthday, number 22.
Thank you. I will remember to have a happy birthday next April. All right, and thank you, Joe Biden. Bird says, he beats up on it, but acknowledges it was all crap this time. I assume you mean wasn't all crap this time. Although I'm curious, see, I am curious to see his review, and Mecca's as well, because I want to see why they're beating up on this one. Because are they beating up on this one just because Kurtzman produced it, or are they beating up on it for genuine, actual problems with this episode? Like I said, I'll be very interesting to see what that is. Fed says the episode was a multi-million-dollar massive troll at the fandom menace, the Mary Sue effect, and we more jaded fans, and I dare say I loved it. I did as well, man. And that's the thing. I think that was intentional because they put the first 2 episodes with Mary Sue, and we're all like ready for another episode of Mary Sue. And it's like they kept dropping it like, okay, any second now it's going to be Mary Sue. And it wasn't. And I was like, whoa, wait, what? And I was really pleasantly surprised. Moonjumper Reviews, who cares what I think, says, Flame, Flame, Flame. The 3rd episode actually flipped the Mary Sue on its flipping head. It did indeed. Also, did anyone notice the delightful display of Kirk Fu? Oh man, that was some awesome Kirk Fu by Ransom. That was freaking awesome. Not only that, but you could hear they were playing classic TOS fight music during that sequence. I also like that they actually played music from Best of Both Worlds when they were being attacked. They used a lot of music cues, and I mentioned this in my review, but I also kind of liked that Boromir was in the turbo lift going do, 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 do. He was literally humming the TNG theme. Rutherford beat the crap out of a bunch of Borg. He's a Mary Sue. Boromir finishes his tasks ahead of time. He's a Mary Sue. Tendi does an open heart massage. She's a Mary Sue. No, you see, here's the thing, Sean. Individual acts of greatness does not a Mary Sue make. It's when somebody is obscenely competent within the framework of that universe. So, for example, a great example of a Mary Sue would be like Michael Burnham. Michael Burnham is an expert in everything she attempts to do. And that's just, it's boring when a character is great at everything. Mike Richards is here from Columbus, Ohio. Good to see you. Fed says, to that image of Ryan Johnson, I say, screams, a demon has come. Yes, indeed. Brian says, hey, Antichecker, if you had to give the Star Wars and Star Trek franchises each a health rating for the end of the year, what would it be? 1 being bad, 10 being terrific. That's a tough one. Star Trek, I'm going to say, health-wise, is a little lower than Star Wars. Because while the last episode of Lower Decks was entertaining, that does not a comeback make, right? So I would say that the health between 1 and 10 of Trek is probably about a 3. And that's being generous, I think. So in that, it's not like dead, but it's still way into the negative, and it's got a lot of work to do. And the fans are pissed off, obviously. So they need to do a lot of work to try and win back those fans. Star Wars, on the other hand, I'm going to say probably about a 4.5 to 5. And the only reason it's that high is because of The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian, even people that hate on Star Wars will admit that Mandalorian is a great show. So yes. But what I was saying, so about the camper, we're selling the camper, hopefully, and if the guy that's going to buy it, if he does give the price I'm asking him for, then me and Mrs. Antichecker are going to split the proceeds, and then with my half, I'm going to get a large form resin printer. And oh yeah, Live with Matthew says, good evening, Antichecker, and all, how you doing? Also, Flammenwaffer equals flamethrower, just the German. Okay. So I don't speak any German. A dude's thought says, anti-treaker, where's that female robot voice from? It's the same one on a lot of Christian videos on YouTube. I want to use it for some religious videos myself. Actually, that female robot voice is from Streamlabs. That's just one of the default voices. Fed says, so I wasn't insane. It was the music from Best of Both Worlds. Yes, I love the fact that they use, and that's some great music. And so I love that they're using those classic themes. And so they use some Best of Both Worlds and some TOS music in that episode. Can someone put the words to the TNG song so it sounds like the Starfleet song, just as a Navy song or an Army song? I don't know what you would sing the oh man, we're not the military. Star Wars and Star Trek are sick men, yes men of fiction. Are the sick men, yes men of fiction. I don't know if I would go that far, because like I said, I think Star Wars is actually on the mend at this point. I think that Kathleen Kennedy has done her damage, and Jon Favreau is trying to help, and Iger are trying to bring it back. Did you know Star Trek TNG has a Pluto channel? I didn't, but there are a lot of things on Pluto, and I believe isn't Pluto owned by CBS or now Viacom? But I also have CBS All Access, has all the Trek shows anyway. So, Dude Slot says Ray is a better example of a Mary Sue. Lise Burnham did get training and work for her skills. Ray just downloaded them from someone else. Well, and even that is only in a book, and it's an ad hoc explanation at best. I actually like Alan Dean Foster's idea that Ray was actually cybernetic, and that's one of the reasons she had all those powers. But the truth is that I think Burnham is a great example of a Mary Sue, because Rey you can always fall back on magic in Star Wars and just say it's the will of the Force that she's that way. But Burnham, I'm sorry, I don't. First of all, a human being able to go to the Vulcan Science Academy and acing it and being the best at everything. And by the way, she is not just a great science officer, but she is an expert in both xenobiology and quantum mechanics, because she knows everything. All right? Look, pick a skill set and go with it. Please. This kind of, that's why Spock doesn't fix the engines and Scotty doesn't scan for alien life forms in TOS. Everybody has their skill set. Sure, they may be familiar with different stuff, but they're not going to be experts at everything. Burnham is not only an expert at everything, she's the best at everything. And I mean, man, in the first episode, when she literally shoves Saru out of her way so that she can take over the science console, I wanted to punch her right there. Dude says, I'm going to go ahead and get Disney Plus to watch Mandalorian. If you haven't seen it, you are in for a treat, my friend. Mandalorian is freaking awesome. I can't wait for season 2. That voice is also the voice of Tyus, a snarky AI from Captain Shack's survival story series years ago on YouTube. Really good space engineers, machinima. Oh, okay. I don't remember that one. Well, no Orville model for me. First, I got an email said it was shipped. Now I got an email say I got a refund. Ah, that sucks. Disney owns a dwarf planet? Bloody hell. No, not Disney. Viacom. Yet becomes the first to mutiny. Yeah, not only that, but becomes the first to mutiny, even though later on her own brother says there's no record of any mutinies on a starship. Breaking news, Disney has purchased the universe. Now we live in a Mickey Way galaxy. Andromeda has been renamed Minnie. LOL, she's even the best at starting the darn warp. But actually, and this is the thing, she didn't, and that's a misconception. She's accused of starting the war by various people, but she didn't. She did not start the war because she was stopped from firing at the Klingon ship by Georgiou. And what they're trying to do is proving she was even right when she committed the mutiny, because had she fired on the Klingon ship like she tried to, she would have prevented the war. Also, being a developer by trade, creative time estimation, that delighted me to no end in this episode. I actually kind of like that too. I know some people were saying, oh, come on, only Scotty did that. Nobody else did. And at that point, you're taking it too seriously, number one. And number two, and this is the beauty of that show. And something that people, you're like, well, that's not the Starfleet way. I mean, after all, Scotty had to educate Geordi about it. And Geordi was like, oh, why would you do that? But they're acting like everybody does it. First of all, Scotty did do it, right? That was established. But Scotty was also like the best engineer of all time. And so he could still do stuff faster than anybody else. But here's the neat thing. Is that you're right. You know what? You don't see everybody on the Enterprise in Star Trek The Next Generation padding the time for everything they do and taking leisure time throughout the day. That's true. But you know what's also true? The Cerritos is not the flagship, and in fact, it's kind of at the lower end of the spectrum, which means that you get the best of the best, the most motivated, the people that want to kick ass and take names. In other words, you get an entire crew of people like Boimir. I mean, Mariner would never be on the Enterprise. Boimir should be. Boimir absolutely should be on the Enterprise.
Hello, world.
Sebeka Trek donated a
Trump
top.
2020. 4 more years. Number 4.
I'm not going to even comment on that one. Yes, the classics. So let's see, where was I? Life with Matthew says, I think that's what people forget about with Mary Sue post Last Jedi. It's not a Mary Sue to excel at something. It's in part when you're the best at everything. Yes. And it's, yeah, if you excel at a thing, if you're the best in the world at a thing, that's perfectly fine. Doesn't even matter what that thing is. That's perfectly okay in almost any respect, right? But what's not okay is to be the best at everything, because you know what that makes you? Boring. I mean, in real life, it'd be awesome to be the best at everything. But as far as in a fictional world, if you write your character to be the best at everything, that character is boring. That character is pointless. That character is devoid of a little thing called drama. And drama is what makes the narrative interesting. If everything is easy, it's not drama. What if Sebeka Trek killed Burnham? Well, then they'd probably be very popular among the fandom menace. Dreamers out there, that's Discovery Season 2, Episode 2 or 3. They get a red signal, and it's like red shifted or something, and in 5 seconds, Burnham knows to make a warp jump to get a super luminy snapshot of it. Super luminal snapshot of it. I don't remember the details of that one. I need to rewatch Discovery Season 2. I don't want to, but I should before Discovery Season 3 drops, just to refresh myself. But yeah, I mean, Burnham is great at everything, and that's the problem. The only thing Burnham has not demonstrated superior skill to everybody else on is medicine. That's the only thing she has not, so far, shown that she's better than anybody else at. By the way, she's even better at not dying because, I mean, remember, she was bombarded in the first freaking episode. She was like dying of radiation sickness. She gets out of the med bay and walks to the bridge and doesn't die, even though she should have. Anyway, where was I? Do you know Cobra Kai's moving to Netflix? No, but I'm impressed. I wonder if that's a first, the show going from YouTube straight to Netflix. Brian says, hey, Trigger, after months of using DaVinci Resolve, how do you guys like it? I like it a lot, Brian, especially for the price tag. I mean, if you consider, like, DaVinci Resolve, even if you pay for it, is a one-time fee and updates for life. And the thing is that, like, with the Adobe suite, which is what I was using before, you can't even own it. You have to subscribe to it. You pay $50 a month just to use it, unless you pirate it or something, and which I'm not going to do. And so, yeah, absolutely, I love it. I love the fact that I can do almost everything I did with the Adobe suite without paying $50 a month. LD says Chief O'Brien did it too. I'm not sure what you mean. Did what? Let's see. Captain Robert April says, thank you. I'm not sure what for, but you're welcome. Fed says, you have to make room for a Scotch laddie. You bloody have to. Personal experience never gets between a Scotsman and his booze. That's true. And Scotty, man, he had the best stashes of Scotch. He absolutely did. And by the way, you know, I do have my personal, this is not Scotch, mind you. It's actually, what is this? It is rum. This is rum. But I do love this bottle. All right. When you think about it, if you have a starship run so tight like an Enterprise, there must be some slackers out there. Yeah, that's the thing. The Enterprise is the best of the best. The Cerritos is not. All right. Let's see. Boimler should have been Wesley, a better Wesley. I agree. If Ro landed on the Enterprise, why not Mariner? And yeah, and Ro didn't last now, did she? I don't think that Mariner would last more than a week on the Enterprise. And the thing is that, like, Ro was disrespectful. Mariner is insubordinate. Was Ro ever busted in rank? I don't think so, but I'm not sure. No, Wesley's a way better Wesley. No. Bucket Headland, interesting name, says, it's Kurt's Trek. Any way you cut it, a bad ripoff of something else skinned as Trek. I disagree with you. Don't get me wrong, I'm not defending Kurtzman himself, but I think that Mike McMahon is a genuine fan of Trek, and I think it shows in this series. Honestly, I think that a lot of people are hating on this show just because of the fact that it is Kurt's Trek, as you say. I think that is a genuine problem in that the Trek reputation and the Trek brand has been so tarnished by Kurtzman that now Star Trek fans are rejecting it out of hand just because it's produced by Kurtzman. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. Period. Mariner shouldn't be on any starship. Well, I tend to agree she shouldn't be. I think the only reason she's got a commission at all is because of Mom and Dad. And I think that the only reason she's on the Cerritos is because Mom is there. What annoys me is that people, if they don't see the main bridge character say or specify do something, it never happened before. That's true. Yeah. So yeah, Discovery had one engineer performing surgery on people. As she performs surgery is no different than working on machines, which is BS. Oh yeah. Oh man, that chick, I can't remember her name now, but yeah. Miss I'm a Lesbian. That was like her name, I think. And the thing that really bugged me was like, and don't get me wrong, I only say that in jest because what pissed me off was when she was cast and they were like, this great lesbian is cast. And I'm like, what does her sexual preference have to do with her ability to be an actor? Honestly, what is wrong with people? It's like this Batwoman crap. Why is it that it matters what the sexual orientation of an actor is? Actors pretend to be things they're not. So therefore, it shouldn't matter. And I don't want to know. Anyway, Donnie says, hello, Michael and all. Hope everything is A-okay. Well, Monday Night Football may return to ABC in a year or so after a decade on ESPN. Thoughts? Well, I'm not a big football dude, but I think it should be on broadcast. I don't think that it should be behind a paywall. My grandfather was an aerospace mechanic. He confirmed to me years ago that you at least double all repair estimates to allow for unexpected errors. Yeah, but they were doing it purposely to have downtime. A key component of a character being a Mary Sue is not just being great at fill in the blank, but beloved by the crew and getting command of the ship. Does that sound like Mariner? Well, first of all, Captain this is a problem with the whole Mary Sue concept. What people do is they try to define a Mary Sue as being identical to Mary Sue from A Trekkie's Tale. And most people have never even read A Trekkie's Tale. And so that's where things like that come from. Because they're saying, well, in A Trekkie's Tale, Mary Sue was loved by everybody, and she didn't actually the funny thing is she didn't command the ship at all. She saved Kirk and Spock, but I think she ran the ship while they were sick, but she didn't become a captain or anything like that. But give her time, but that's where people kind of don't understand. Mary Sue was a character in a short story that was just off the charts stupid. If you've never read it, don't. It's really bad. It's not even good writing. But the idea of a Mary Sue is basically a character that is overly competent and generally loved by everybody. Now, Mariner at first we were like, is she really a Mary Sue? Because not everybody loves her. But then in episode 2, it seemed like, yeah, she's a Mary Sue. But now in episode 3, it's like, oh, wow, she is definitely not. But who knows what they're going to do next week. Josh says, so if the USS Cerritos is at the bottom of the barrel, so it's fully crewed by Kurogans, then no, Kurogans are not allowed in Starfleet. Bird of Prey says, I also enjoy Resolve. Just wish I could use animated GIFs inside like I could in Vegas. Any GIFs. There are some file formatting limitations, but I don't run into that because I don't try to bring in GIFs generally. Nice flask. Yes, indeed. I do love that bottle. Moonjumper says, I was never too hung up on Burnham being a Mary Sue until she bragged about being the test pilot for those non-Trek spinning pods instead of, say, the helmsman, Detmer, or what is her name. Yeah. And that's the problem is that, yeah, they have to make her the best at everything. She's the best pilot. She's the best science officer. She's the best engineer on the ship. Why? Malfi says, in older Trek, Mariner would have already been kicked out of Starfleet for insubordination and gross incompetence. Well, I don't know about gross incompetence, but insubordination, yes. Because Mariner is actually, and that's kind of the problem with Mariner, and why people kind of think she's a Mary Sue. And Birdo Prey donates $11. Thank you so much, Birdo Prey.
Mariner came from Karoga Best University FU. I'm going to do Billy Elliot movie Saturday. I think I will like it not as much as Magic Mike. Please show everyone a beautiful Karoga bird chat for. Hail North Korea and Karoga friends. I love anti-trekker.
That is true. Bird did say he loves me, and which is kind of embarrassing, I gotta admit. But yes, for if you're thinking about visiting Karoga, wait, that's not it.
It's not clean.
Oh wait, hold on. What's going on? Why is it playing that?
It's not clean.
Wow, just like going crazy here.
The board vessel's moving into range.
Hold on, what the heck? Okay. Wow, just having all sorts of technical problems. Let's try it again. Bird chat 4, why are you not playing? There we go.
Welcome to Karoga.
Hello world, it's me, Bird of Prey 5, and I have to say I am very proud of the fine people at Karoga's Fine University. And yes, it's called Fine University, or FU. And at FU, we have a great women's studies program. Just look at this professor educating a woman. Also, I wanted to let you know that Karoga cares about its citizens. Just look at this fine border wall. It's designed to protect the citizens, and there's no way anyone could ever get past this fence. Also, guys, check out my nice Jeep. I just love to drive all around in my Jeep and say hi to the guards around my palace, and also check out the great free housing for Karogan citizens. You know I'm in great shape too. Here's some footage of me driving my trusty Jeep around Karoga and hiking up a hill. I am such an athlete. Oh look, it's my good pal Abergam. Hi Abergam. And did I mention orphans? We have a great work program for the orphans. And the best part is that they can quit anytime they want and go into the private sector. Right? Here's a group quitting right now. I am done, so I'm ending the stream and eating dinner. Too bad Mamo Prey will not get to eat tonight. Maybe next week. Free Mamo Prey. She's already free.
Oh no, what's that?
Someone says Thomas Potts is going to try to get through that fence, but there's no way it would ever work. Not even a tank could get through our wall. Son of a bitch!
Yes, indeed. Karoga. So, anyway, Malfeas, what I was saying is, okay, so as far as Mariner's insubordination, absolutely. However, gross incompetence, this is the problem with the character. She has gross competence. She doesn't try, and yet she excels all the time, and that's annoying. I hate the fact that, like, even in the episode 3, as much as I liked episode 3, it's like she had to knock out like 8 people before she realized, oh, there's too many of us to fight. The way she was going, she could have kicked all their butts. He means Chief O'Brien scottied things and overestimated resources. Yes, that is true. Richie says, thanks for turning me on to DaVinci Resolve. I use it to edit my Uncle Joey Explains Star Trek videos. Excellent. Yeah, and the thing is, you can use it for free. You can learn almost everything for free, and there's no penalty for doing so. Robert April points out Kurtzman is not the showrunner. That is 100% true about Lower Decks, and something that a lot of people don't realize. They see Kurtzman's name on it, and they're like, oh, it's just another Kurtz Trek, right? But you know what? This is a problem with all of the modern Trek shows. There's like 17 executive producers of this show. You know how many executive producers you should have on a show? 1. But there's like... And, you know, Eugene Roddenberry is an executive producer. Alex Kurtzman is an executive producer. Mike McMahon is an executive producer. And there's like 5 other people that are all listed as executive producers. And then there's like 3 credits of people saying co-executive producer. What the hell is a co-executive producer? It's just another executive producer. And, you know, and these people are not... This is the problem with that title. An executive producer... in the old days, was the buck stops here kind of person. This is the person who is in charge of this production. Not anymore. Now executive producer is just a credit that you give to people in order to get their name on it. So now, you know, like Eugene Roddenberry, do you think he had anything to do with the actual day-to-day production of any of these Star Trek shows? No, he's sitting back and just collecting a paycheck, and the only reason they want his name in the credits is because his last name is Roddenberry. And so, which to me is just... It's honestly disgusting. I'm sorry. I find it like just wrong that they do this. And, you know, it's nothing new, but I don't like it. Fed says, speaking of McMahon, Bird put up an interesting thought in my head. Well, that's a scary thought. Is McMahon one of those whom loves TNG but not DS9? Well, I do think that's an interesting idea, and I don't know. I've never heard him talk about DS9, in fact, and so I don't know. It does seem like it from the references. I think Discovery was good. If I think you meant if. I think if Discovery was good, more people would like Lower Decks. I agree, but that's a shame that people are judging Lower Decks not based on its own merits, but based on the fact that it came after Discovery. And the funny thing is, so far on Lower Decks, I don't think they've made a single Discovery reference. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they have. Which I think is very interesting. Roll only landed on the Enterprise initially because they were dealing with Bajoran terrorists. Picard recognized there was a better officer under the bravado, which is why she stayed. I agree. Some of y'all are going to get McMahon fired when he's on our side, and Kurtzman will remain. That's what scares me, too. E says, hello from an undisclosed university. Hello, E. I hope you are doing well. What are your thoughts on Kurtzman producing a hypothetical Robotech reboot? Don't care. I'm going to be honest, Toltec. It's not that I first of all, it has nothing to do with Kurtzman's abilities. I don't know jack about Robotech, and I've never gotten into Robotech. So if they do it, don't care. Couldn't be any worse than the Transformer movies. I'd like the title. Let's see. Eric says, I'd the title is in any way my opposition to lower expectations decks. I don't flame you. I just want it to fail because it's Kurtz Trek. It's time to give others a chance. But Eric, Kurtzman's name is on it only because Kurtzman is a bigwig now at CBS. Kurtzman did not do anything to make this show. And I will tell you straight up that if Lower Decks was successful, but Discovery and Picard failures, Kurtzman will be on his way out. at least as a direct hands-on producer. And that's perfectly okay. I don't care if Kurtzman's name stays in the credits for the next 30 years. Because you know what? Gene Roddenberry's name is still in the credits. Do you know how much influence Gene Roddenberry has on Trek today? Zero. He's dead. And old Taku-DD donated $5.
Could Lower Decks survive the end of Kurt's Trek?
Sure. But that's the problem. Only if the fans support the show. And that's the only thing that's going to turn this around. And I do think that it's misplaced anger from the Phantom Menace right now. Because right now, if you look at Lower Decks, it is far better than Picard or Discovery. And yet the fans are lambasting it and trying to get it to fail. Getting it to fail because you don't like Kurtzman is a mistake. All right? And so let me explain it to you. I know I'm falling behind in the chat, but this is important. Gene Roddenberry is the most overrated producer in television history. Gene Roddenberry produced The Cage, and The Cage sucked. If you don't believe me, go back and re-watch it. And think about if that were Trek, it's an all-white cast. In fact, the only progressive thing that came from Gene Roddenberry was feminist agenda. Kind of ironic, really. But that's really it. If you look at The Cage, the only progressive thing about it is that they had a female first officer, right? And gee, just a coincidence that it ended up being his wife, I'm sure. But anyway, the whole thing with the diverse crew that TOS is well known for had nothing to do with Gene Roddenberry's vision. That is the biggest lie in Hollywood. And Alan Dean Foster talked about it when he was on Orville Nation with me and a couple other guys a couple of weeks ago. And this is so true. There is one thing that Gene Roddenberry does better than anybody else in television history, and that is take credit for stuff that he didn't do. It is Gene Kuhn and DC Fontana that are more responsible for the greatness of the original series than Gene Roddenberry ever was. And guess what happened when Gene Roddenberry got a little bit of creative control back? We got Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Now, yes, it's based on an Alan Dean Foster story, but the problem is it got padded out, which it shouldn't have been, and dragged on, and those sequences of penetrating the cloud for 10 minutes were just stupid, and the uniforms were ridiculous, but it was boring, it was dreary, and that's what Roddenberry wanted. And you know what? Then he made Star Trek: The Next Generation. Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 1 is the closest thing we ever got to true Gene Roddenberry Trek. And guess what? Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 1 sucked. Every time Gene Roddenberry had creative control over Trek, it sucked. And yet people worship Gene Roddenberry like he's the greatest producer of all time. Why? Because you see his name in the credits of every single episode and film with the Star Trek brand. And so people just associate the name Gene Roddenberry with the greatness that is Star Trek. All right? So if Alex Kurtzman's name is on the next 17,000 Star Trek shows, I don't care. What I care about is whether or not the shows are any good. And Lower Decks Episode 3 was good. And so if you want to hate it just because Kurtzman is in charge of it, well, then you're being an idiot. I'm sorry. I love you guys that subscribe to my channel to keep me going, that pay my mortgage every month. All right, I may have to work full-time, but if it wasn't for this YouTube channel, I wouldn't have a house right now. So thank you. But get off your high horse for a minute and stop thinking that the problem with Trek has a name, and that name is Alex Kurtzman. Because if that were true, then you should say the same thing about Gene Roddenberry. Because the best thing that ever happened to Star Trek was that Gene Roddenberry was, as they like to say, kicked upstairs. Which means that they made him an executive producer on the show, but he had no creative control. And Dreamer's out there and donated $5. Thank you, Dreamer.
If Gene had had his way in Star Trek TMP, Earth would have been depicted a planet of nudists because in his mind humans had come just that far.
You are 100% correct. And that's stupid, but that's what Gene would have wanted. Anyway, I think that people, and I'm sorry for the tirade there, guys, but it really bugs me that people are hating it just because of the Kurtzman name. I get it. Kurtzman's name has been associated with all the Trek that has been, to most people's minds, negative. Star Trek 2009, Star Trek Into Darkness, Star Trek Beyond, Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, right? None of those were spectacularly great. Some of them were better than other things. Discovery, I think, was the bottom of the barrel. But, to varying degrees, but most people don't think of those things when they think of great Trek. And so they automatically prejudge Lower Decks as being crap because it's got the Kurtzman name on it. That is stupid. All right? Because if that's going to be your attitude, then you should think that any Trek that has the Gene Roddenberry name on it sucks, except that we all know that's not true, because Gene Roddenberry had very little creative control outside of The Cage, TMP, and Season 1 of TNG. Outside of that, Gene Roddenberry himself had very little creative control, because they knew that he was going to be a problem. They kicked him upstairs. Twice. All right, let's get back to it. Actually, 3 times. He was actually kicked upstairs 3 times, people. He was kicked upstairs after he made The Cage. He was kicked upstairs after he made TMP. And he was kicked upstairs after Season 1 of TNG. All right. I think Mike McMahon and Seth MacFarlane should both be given creative control of Discovery and Picard. Well, Mike McMahon, I would not mind seeing. Seth MacFarlane would be great, but he's doing Orville right now. Although, if they, I bet you they give him enough money, he'd jump ship and come on over. Of course, Orville was rumored that's only going to be 1 more season. But I would love to see Seth MacFarlane come over and do some Trek work. Ro was court-martialed. Indeed, she was. Famous Bearer says, Andrew forgot what genuinely funny means. You're saying that I forgot what genuinely funny means? Well, I disagree. Although I will say that what is funny to me may not be funny to you. That's the thing about humor. Like all entertainment, it is completely subjective. I do think it's funny when you poke fun at things that are Star Trek tropes. I love Trek. I have loved Trek longer than many of you have been alive. I've loved Trek since the original run of the original series. And Indy Tiger puts in $5. Thank you, my friend.
Flame on. Whoosh. Johnny Storm Fantastic Four.
Yes! Johnny Storm is the only person that can say flame on without talking about his sexual orientation. I know it's stupid, but I do love that. Flame on, I'm just waiting for them to make him gay in the next version. Anyway, but, what's genuinely funny to me may not be to you, right? But I do like when you take and poke fun at things that deserve it. Now, all of us, or at least most of us, I would say, probably really liked Galaxy Quest, which, by the way, completely lambastes us, the fans of Star Trek specifically. But the only reason we don't get offended by it is because it doesn't say Star Trek Galaxy Quest. Since it's a parody of Trek and it's a different name, then, we don't get mad. If that movie was called Star Trek Galaxy Quest and it starred William Shatner as William Shatner, I would think it was absolutely freaking hilarious. But I'll bet you that a lot of people would be offended. Even if you didn't change anything about the script, except that instead of Nesmith, it was Shatner, right? And you genuinely made it an in-house parody of itself, and you had Shatner playing Kirk. And it would be hilarious, and I'll bet Shatner would do it. But of course, people would be offended. Because how dare you make a comedic Star Trek? Excuse me, have you not seen Star Trek 4, which, by the way, one of the most successful Trek movies of all time? Have you not seen some of the hilarious episodes from the original series, from the animated series? Yes, even some of the funny stuff from TNG and Deep Space Nine. Did you not watch any of that stuff? I know Lower Decks is different because it's a comedic show, but then go back and rewatch the animated series. There were jokes in almost every... In fact, I can't think of a single episode of the animated series that didn't have jokes in it. Yes, it wasn't all jokey, but you know what? So what? Stop taking yourselves too damn seriously. I love Trek with all of my heart, but it's still just a TV show. As much as I love it, I'm surrounded by Trek stuff. How many of you guys actually have one of these bottles? All right? This is the real deal from the 60s. How many of you have that? Right? How many of you guys have sat there and designed your own starships and then 3D printed them? I love me some Star Trek. But that doesn't mean that I'm above making fun of it. And if you are so full of yourself that you can't possibly make fun of yourself, then you are taking yourself too damn seriously. And I think that a lot of people right now are taking Lower Decks seriously. I've had people seriously, unironically complain to me that they had the nerve to show the diagram of the Cerritos and you can't see where the warp core is. So what? Sorry, I'm just, man, I'm on fire tonight. I need to take a chill pill or something. Mariner reminds me a little bit of Raffi from Picard, so I'm not so crazy about it. How does Mariner remind you of Raffi? They are nothing alike. I thought A Trekkie's Tale was a parody. Actually, Trekkie's Tale was in one of those Star Trek fanzines from the 70s. It was not an official publication. So... Bird says, I napped after my stream. Are you sure you didn't nap during your stream, Bird? Kuroga has hacked Anti-Trekker? I doubt that. Let's see. Man, now the chat jumped. That's why I put it on the screen so you can see when the chat jumps, it's like throws me way off. Sean says, Mariner's been all over the Federation when growing up with her parents. Of course, she would know a lot about its species and how to deal with them. Really, Sean? Really? Let me ask you, Sean. Now, I know that you don't live in the U.S., but you might find this shocking. But there's a term we use in the United States. It's called an army brat, right? An army brat is a person who is raised by people in the military, specifically the Army. But there are also Navy brats, Air Force brats, etc. But the army brat is the generic term. Now, what most army brats will tell you is that they moved around a lot, right? Because obviously they lived wherever mommy or daddy were stationed. And so sometimes that meant living in other countries. And in fact, frequently it meant living in other countries. I had one good friend that lived in Japan for a while, lived in South Korea for a while, lived in Germany for a while, lived in a couple of places in the United States, then lived in South America for a little while, and then back to Japan. And all this before graduating high school. And guess what, Sean? You might find this shocking. This person was not an expert in Japanese culture, German culture, English culture, Spanish culture. They weren't an expert at all that. I guess what? You know what they didn't get to do? They didn't go with mommy and daddy when they were on missions. They were living in the barracks. They were not, if you're on, let me give you, okay, I'll let Mortimus puts in $5. Thank you, Mortimus.
Hey guys, 81 viewers and only 26 likes. Hit that
Holy
like button.
crap, we got 81 people watching? Dang, what's wrong with you people? Kidding. Thank you, but that's crazy. Usually I only get about, 40 on a Friday because, I'm going up against Nerdrotic. But the honest truth is that if you were let's say that you're on the Enterprise D, right? Because, your mom and dad are in Starfleet. Well, guess what? You're not going to beam down to the planet and meet the Gorn. You're not going to beam down to the planet and meet the Andorians. You're not going to beam down to all the planets with mom and dad and meet all the different species and learn how they all interact and learn about them first-hand knowledge. But Mariner does. So I'm sorry, I'm not defending that. And this is, and don't get me wrong, Sean, I don't hate Lower Decks, but I think Mariner's a crap character in the first 2 episodes. And even in episode 3, I don't like her, but at least she gets her just desserts in that one. Dawn says, I'm so glad I got the audio of Mama Prey saying she wasn't free. Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. And Josh puts the link for DaVinci Resolve. Yes, if you are looking for a video editor and you don't know what to do, get DaVinci Resolve. It's free, 100% free. The only thing that the paying for does is unlock a few extra features. But to make really good high-def videos, you do not need to pay money. And it doesn't watermark the videos if you don't pay for it or anything like that. You can absolutely produce professional quality videos with it for free. Get it and stop paying dicks like the people at Adobe. Because I'm sorry, subscribing to software, the only way that kind of subscription model is going to end is when people stop paying for it. If people abandon Adobe and go to places like DaVinci Resolve, if people abandon Maya and get Blender, right? When people stop paying those stupid subscription fees, the subscription model will die. And I cannot wait till that happens. Lower Decks is probably the only show in the lot that would actually listen to something Rod might have to say. I don't think so. Well, maybe, but I don't want Rod to have any creative control. Have you ever listened to the guy? No! Roddenberry should not be producing anything. The only reason his name's in it is because they want his name in it. I'm sorry. People think Roddenberry is like so awesome. You think SJW-ness is bad? Put Roddenberry in charge. The increased use of executive producers started in the late 90s, a way of skirting union rules to pay some actors more than others. I know. And now it's just obscene the way they do it. Like, Patrick Stewart was an executive producer of Picard. Give me an effing break. Let's see. Andy Checker, not a big, but the delta over in the entrance into the shuttle bay on Lower Decks, that bulkhead with the delta, it's straight out of Disco. I'd have to look at that. I didn't catch that. I don't know if I would call that a direct reference as much as, but I'd have to see it. The delta over the entrance into the shuttle bay. Yeah, I'd have to see it. One thing I was thinking about today is the lackluster attitudes of the Lower Decks crew matches up with the Marquis in the Good Shepherd Voyager episode. I barely remember that, so I'd have to. I don't remember that very well. I'd have to rewatch it. Anyone else notice what's on the crew's boots? I actually kind of thought that was funny. Yeah, the boots have a delta symbol and a star, if I remember correctly. Richie thinks the cage was awesome. Richie, you're crazy. I'm sorry. The cage was crap. Gene Roddenberry deserves a lot more credit for Star Trek than you give him credit for. I give him all the credit in the world for what he actually did. Watch the cage. That's his vision. And so I'm sorry, you go back and look at my videos on it. I mean, I actually count the number of white people on the show because Gene Roddenberry had the gall to sit there on, and this is for the VHS release of The Cage, right? On the extras for that VHS tape, and you can find it on YouTube. He sits there and brags about the fact that he shoved it in the man's butt because he cast a diverse cast, and he straight up said, meaning not all white. Dude, the episode you are talking about is an all-white cast, except for that one Asian guy in the transporter room that Thomas Potts mentions. But yes, and that guy doesn't have a single line. He's just standing there. So yeah, no thanks. Actually, TNG got better when they took power away from Roddenberry during production of season 3. Well, they actually started. Roddenberry lost power in season 2, but he was really completely out of the loop by season 3. Watch Star Trek: The Motion Picture DVD Director's Edition. Much better version of the film. Indeed, it is. I do have it. Speaking of Gene Roddenberry, the day before yesterday would have been his 99th birthday. He boldly went where no one went before. Funny thing. Saying where no one has gone before, which of course was from TNG era onwards, is actually not accurate. Saying where no man has gone before is. Gene's dead. You'll have to yell louder if you want him to hear you. Yeah, I know. But you know what? I'm not here to get mad at Gene Roddenberry, but I'm mad at people who worship Gene Roddenberry. Because Gene Roddenberry did not create the stuff that we love about Star Trek. You know, and Richie, I know he created Star Trek and his name should be on it. That's not my argument, all right? My argument is that Gene Roddenberry didn't make Star Trek great. He did create Star Trek. All power to him for that, right? That's awesome. You call him the Great Bird of the Galaxy, and I have no problem with calling him that. Which, by the way, there was a great reference to that in the last episode of Lower Decks. But people that worship at the altar think that Gene Roddenberry is the reason the crew is diverse. They think that Gene Roddenberry is the reason for these great stories. That Gene Roddenberry is the reason that Star Trek became this huge phenomenon. Gene Roddenberry produced The Cage. And then, Gene Kuhn and DC Fontana took the concept and turned it into the original series. I'm getting flashbacks of Andy Trekker watching Discovery while streaming. Oh, man, those are some rough days, and just a few more weeks. Oh, jeez. If Gene was kicked upstairs, then Mariner should be kicked up to the Enterprise. Well, Gene being kicked upstairs, that's a different thing than, like, you don't kick somebody up to captaincy in the military. Although you might kick a captain up to the Admiralty to get them out of a ship. No need to play that live, though, Michael, since you do not want you to be in jeopardy of a copyright strike. I'm not gonna play the director's the music or anything. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Nope, wrong. NBC didn't commission the second pilot. Lucille Ball did. That's you're talking to Captain Robert April. I'm like, I didn't say that. But yeah, Lucille Ball is more reason that Star Trek aired than Gene Roddenberry. Man, she was a visionary. Have you seen the Call of Duty Cold War trailer? I have not. I'm not a big Call of Duty guy. I kind of suck at it, though. I suck at shooters in general. One thing about Lower Decks is that Discovery, is that the Starfleet logo is everywhere, including the bottom of their shoes. Well, the Starfleet logo may be everywhere, but it's still the Starfleet logo, not necessarily the Discovery version. I know someone said something about the logo in the shuttle bay. I'll have to look for that. But this is the Discovery-verse version of the logo, right? Where you have the split, and the one part is different than the rest. That was something created specifically in Discovery. But as far as I know, the Delta Shield is solid in everything I've seen in Lower Decks. But yeah, bottom of the barrel. It was the lowest part of the shell of the barrel. Discovery was. Yeah, Discovery was truly bottom of the barrel Trek. And you know what? And I don't mind people blaming Kurtzman for some of the problems with Discovery for sure. But Kurtzman was directly involved in the production of that. Kurtzman is not directly involved in the production of Lower Decks. Let's see. I don't really know whether I'm being a toxic fan by listening to Andy Trekker or whether everyone else is legitimately insane. Well, I'm not. Here's the thing. I don't consider myself a toxic fan because I still want Star Trek to be good. I know there are people out there that say they want this new Star Trek to fail because Kurtzman is on the marquee there. That's insane. I want every new Trek to be good. I'm rooting for Season 3 of Discovery. I'm hoping that Season 3 of Discovery is as big a change for Discovery as Season 3 of TNG was for TNG. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Unfortunately, I think that the way that they developed the character Michael Burnham means that the only way to fix her character is to kill her. And I don't like having to say that, but I think it's true. They given her too many skills, made her too good at everything. And so with that, I don't know that there's a way to salvage that character. However, everybody else on the show, I think, is interesting. I actually, I like Saru. I like Stamets, and I think there's a lot of interesting characters there. Tilly, not as much, but I think that Tilly, it's just kind of insulting because, like, when you see, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm not fat shaming or anything, but she's a hefty girl, and that's perfectly okay. I'm not saying she's hideous to look at or anything, but what I am saying is that to see her not only win a marathon, but set a new Starfleet record doing it, BS. Sorry, that's a load of crap. I was reading the critic reviews of people who watched the first 4 episodes of Star Trek Lower Decks. They say the show does not push boundaries like Discovery, like SJW themes. Well, that's perfectly okay with me. Malfi says some season 1 episodes were okay. I liked episode 25, Conspiracy. Wish they did the follow-up later. Yeah, I kind of like Conspiracy too. Not everything in season 1 was crap. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, that absolutely 100% of everything that Gene Roddenberry had his hands on was garbage. But what I am saying is that when people think of great Trek, as even though Conspiracy was an interesting idea and stuff, most people don't think of Conspiracy in the great Trek. I don't know, maybe some people do, but I think part of it is because, let's be real, Riker without the beard just looks creepy. And those season 1 uniforms look so dumb. And Dreamer's out there saying to Captain Robert April and me, Lucille Ball, Life with Lucy. She owned the production company making Trek. She gave them another chance. It wasn't NBC. Yeah, I know. Well, Lucille Ball fought for Trek, and that's awesome that she did. And a lot of people don't realize, and if you watch my video on why I'm called the Anti-Trekker, I talk about that. A lot of people don't realize Lucille Ball had anything to do with it. Even though they see the Desilu logo at the end of the original series, they don't put it together. Kate says, what if Gene Roddenberry was written and directed the entire franchise, and the franchise would have died after 1, maybe 2 seasons? Honestly, Star Trek would have been dead a long time ago. I found the warp core! Okay. Good. I'd love to paint green me some voluptuous Amazonian women. I love Star Trek that much. I'd love to paint green me some voluptuous Amazonian women. Okay. You can do that. Jeff says that's Anti-Trekker's theory. I'm not sure what you're talking about. The parasites in TOS had something to do with Borg. Yeah, that's something that I did. If you look at my origin of the Borg theory. MCRN says, you can start the stream now. I'm here. Oh, good to see MCRN. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. MCRN is here, so we are starting, even though we're not. The LD shuttlecraft design rule more than that of Cerritos, as they let's see. The LD shuttlecraft designs rule more than that of Cerritos, as do the theme tune and score by Chris Westlake. I'm not sure what you mean by that. So we'll move on. MCR, the military brat, that's the PC term. Yeah, military brat, you could say that. But Army brat, Navy brat, whatever. Doesn't matter. The idea is the same. Moonjumper says, 100% agree on that awesome rant. Well, except for the cage. I love the cage. So 98.9%. The cage is only halfway decent thing Roddenberry wrote part of. Well, I still don't like it, but I think Cage is boring, to be honest. Matthew says, going up Nerdrotic, no offense to the amazing Gary B, but you can listen to one of his streams a week and you've heard everything he has to say. Wow. I love Gary, so I'm not going to knock Gary for sure. He's a great guy. But I'm disagreeing with the general theme of the Phantom Menace lately, which is just a rant on new Trek just because it's new Trek. I get it that, look, I'm not saying Discovery was awesome. It wasn't. Season 2 of Discovery showed potential, and then they dumped on it in the last episode. I was excited about Season 2 until the last episode because I liked the Spock-Burnham dynamic. That actually worked. I liked Anson Mount as Pike. I thought there was a lot of good things going on, and then they crapped all over the ending. Donnie says, my dad spent 2 years in the United States Army soldier. He served in the Vietnam War. Loved being a son of the United States soldier, nephew, late United States sailor, younger cousin, a Marine. Awesome. Well, I was in the Army back in the 80s, but I didn't get to, see the world. I was stationed in Alabama. I'm still using CS5. To as long as it works, refuse to subscribe to Adobe. Yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing, Moonjumper, and I get that. If you have CS5, I had I'm trying to remember what it was. One of the CS ones, and then I ended up making the biggest mistake ever. I upgraded to Creative Cloud, and you can't downgrade once you upgrade. because if you try to reactivate your old CS license, it says, no, you have to use the cloud. Whoa, and the Fed puts it $100. Holy crap.
The only thing I liked about the early TNG was the sort of surrealness about the way it was filmed. It felt trippy and different and unusual. It appealed to my sense of the peculiar. Also, here ye go, anti-trekker figure, a man of principle should get rewarded. Enjoy.
Thank you, Fed. Man, that means so much to me. I seriously, it makes me want to cry, dude. That's awesome. I do truly appreciate it. And you guys, you know, when I say you guys pay my mortgage, I ain't even lying. It's things like that the only reason that we get by. And I mean, it touches me every time you guys do something like that. But you know, I get the surrealness of TNG was you know, I didn't care for the design of the Enterprise D. I never have, and I probably never will. I don't like the beige color on the interiors, and I think the bulbous saucer looks kind of stupid. But I watched it every single week religiously from day one to the last episode of season 7. And I watched that show grow and get better, even though I hated the first season. And so I'm sitting there, and this is my problem with the Phantom Menace. Yes, Discovery season 1 and season 2 absolutely sucked. Season 2 not as bad as season 1, but you know, the last episode of season 2, However, if season 3 is better, that's a good thing, people. It's not a bad thing for a show to improve. It's just a bad thing if, you know, they don't improve, or if they improve and we refuse to acknowledge it, meaning that they think that it was better the first time. Rambling Rattlesnake says, did you know that the set for the Enterprise warp core was an actual fusion reactor? If you're talking about... I think you're talking about Star Trek Into Darkness, but I don't think that was a fusion reactor. I think it was, I'm trying to remember what it was, but I do know that like the sets for the warp core was an actual location, and of course the sets for the general engineering section was a Budweiser brewery. The cage was awesome. Gene is awesome. Well, Richie, I disagree with you. Let's see. Are we talking about The Cage, or the two-parter with Kirk, Spock, Pike, etc.? Well, The Cage is the original episode. The Menagerie is the two-parter with Kirk and Spock where they use clips from The Cage. And so, you know, there is a difference. And if you watch just The Cage, it's cringeworthy. The Menagerie is actually much better because we only have to endure The Cage in small chunks. Moonjumper says, I love The Cage, but then I like Galactica 1980, so who cares what I think? Well, who cares what I think is in your name? Valor says, just got here. Must say, today Doomcock, MEAD, and Mecha made me into a liar. That I said they would give episode 3 a fair chance, but nope, they wouldn't even give credit for the end of the show. I have not watched their reviews yet, so I can't say. I know that Bird said that Doomcock gave credit to some of the funny stuff in episode 3, but I haven't not watched his review yet. I will watch all of their reviews when I get time, but that's probably not going to be for a few days. And just so you guys know, I'm sorry I haven't been putting out very many videos. Part of it is because of some stuff I've been doing behind the scenes, trying to get this camper sold so that hopefully I'll be able to get that better 3D printer, which, holy crap, the things I'll be able to do with it, And just the stuff that we're doing now is crazy. But the stuff that we'll be able to do with the new one will be better than what's printing now and print many times faster. And so it'll cost a little bit more to print because it uses resin instead of the filament, but still, it'll be worth it. Love or hate Gene, but it wasn't for Gene's vision which made NBC remake it into a great show. I'm not denying that Gene doesn't deserve credit, but so does Lucille Ball, Gene Kuhn, DC Fontana, and others that made Star Trek into the greatness that it was. But there are way too many people that just know the name Gene Roddenberry. If I said Gene Kuhn to half of Star Trek fans, they would be like, who the hell is that? If I said Dorothy Catherine Fontana, most people have no clue who that is. But if I say DC Fontana, they might say, oh, that sounds familiar. but they don't realize that she's responsible for the stories of Trek. She was actually, not only did she write a ton of classic Trek, but she was basically an uncredited script runner for the original series. Tom says, I'm on day 4 or 5 of my PS4 downloading of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And there goes the chat again. Excuse me, man. I disagree with calling those who want the sorry excuse for Trek to fail insane. We just know Kurtzman is terrible and wants to do over. No Trek is better than fake Trek. Zabe, you're certainly entitled to your opinion, but wanting it to fail, I just disagree with that on principle. I want Trek to be better. I don't want it to just fail, because if it fails, we may get no Trek for 20 years, and I'll be dead by then. And I just as soon try to get some good Trek before I'm buried underground. All right? That's what I want. I don't, you could say, no Trek is better than fake Trek, and stand there and say those kind of things. Great. Well, you know what? I disagree. I want good Trek is better than fake Trek. Right? I want improved Trek. Make it better. No, is it going to be exactly like the original series or TNG or Deep Space Nine or Voyager or Enterprise? No, because guess what? That was then, and things are going to change. But you know what? That's not always a bad thing. Now, some of the stuff, granted, season 1 of Discovery, complete train wreck from beginning to end. I'm not defending anything about season 1. There's only one episode that I found amusing at all, and that's the Harry Mudd one with the time travel thing. But season 2 actually showed a lot of potential for Discovery. The problem was that they had the Anson Mount Pike and the Ethan Peck Spock were both more interesting than the cast regulars, and the Spock-Burnham dynamic was actually damn good. Spock was the only person that could put Burnham in her place, because Spock wasn't intimidated by her because it was her brother. They completely blew the ending, but dang, they could have nailed it. And I've talked about how I think they could have made the ending so much better, which is very simple, actually. Number one, you don't have people apologize to Burnham for being male. That was stupid. Where you end up having Sarek and Spock and Pike all apologizing to Burnham just because they're male, right? That was stupid. Number two, the whole thing about Spock and Burnham having animosity towards each other, and then at the end it turns out it was just because Burnham said, I don't want you as my brother. That was completely out of character for Spock. Because Spock is not a particularly emotional person. It would have to be something a lot deeper than that. And I already came up with a brilliant solution that would also tie in another hated Trek, but at least make it so that it was at least had a purpose, even if it still sucked. And that's Star Trek V. What you do is you bring up in that last episode that the reason that there is a rift between Spock and Burnham was because Spock's elder brother, Sybok, was inspired by Burnham to embrace emotions, and that's why he got ostracized by Vulcan. And that's why he ended up being excommunicated from the planet. And Spock cannot forgive his adopted sister for letting his actual brother be exiled. That would make sense. That's a deep cut that could hit Spock. But no, this, you didn't want me to be your brother. Oh, that's not stupid. People don't know that Lucy is why we have Trek, Mission Impossible, and Anne's Mannix. I don't know about Mannix, but that's kind of cool. MCRN says, you have a very interesting group of chaps. Really enjoy seeing various points of view in a mature manner of dialogue. Down with the hate. Let's be mates. I agree. We need to stop hate. And that's another thing, by the way, is that I know that there are people in this chat right now that actually like Discovery. You may not be speaking up too much, but I know some of you. And there are people in this chat that hate Discovery. And there are people in this chat that love Alex Kurtzman and people in this chat that hate Alex Kurtzman. That's all okay. We don't have to hate each other just because we have differences of opinion and different tastes. Now, I obviously have never been shy about what my opinion is. And that's why I'm on YouTube, right? I spout my opinion all the time. But even though I will rail on stuff that I think is crap, I never, ever want to encourage anybody to hate a person just because you don't like what they did. I do not hate Alex Kurtzman. I do not hate Ryan Johnson. I do not even hate Kathleen Kennedy. I hate what they did, all right? But I don't hate them. And a lot of people, they turned this, this anger, this justifiable and righteous anger about things like The Last Jedi and Discovery, and they've turned that righteous anger into straight up evil hatred. That's got to stop. We've got to stop hating people, because that's what's dragging this world into the crapper right now. You know why we have cities burning right now all across this country? Hate. If you don't hate Trump, you hate Biden. If you don't hate Biden, you hate Trump. Right? Everybody's got to hate. You hate the Democrats, you hate the Republicans. You hate the Brits, you hate the Americans. Whatever it is, we've all got to hate, 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 hate. I'm done with hate. And to paraphrase a great man from the past, the only thing we have to hate is hate. Donnie says the TNG theme tune was reworked version of the Jerry Goldsmith composed motion picture theme. Actually, it's not just a reworked, it's just a straight up lift. It's the same music, it's just a rearrangement of the same song. Thank you for your service. You are more than welcome, Donnie. Ramley says, what do you think of the Enterprise episode E Squared? I don't know that one by name. You'd have to describe it to me. I don't remember it. Daniel's in the house, says, hello, how you doing, Daniel? Darth Maul says, I'm enjoying watching Star Trek again with Lower Decks, and if what I see what's developing comes to pass, I will come to love it, but I'm holding slight reservations because of the past. Oh, that's perfectly reasonable. I'm not saying that you should love Lower Decks because, one episode was good. Absolutely not. I said, even in the, people mistake the fact that I liked an episode that suddenly I love Lower Decks, right? No, there was one good episode. We'll see what happens next week. If next week's episode stinks, you will hear me rant about it. If it's good again, you'll hear me rave about it. But right now, they've got 2 meh episodes and 1 good one. We'll see what happens. I hope for another good one. Daniel says, I liked when Kowalski made fun of the Phantom Menace and Mecha Random, and all his fans, including myself, joined in, and the day after Mecha went online and was super butthurt. Well, you know what? I'm not here to hate on Mecha Random any more than I'm here to hate on Kowalski. And LD puts in $2. Thank you.
Lower Decks or Picard. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm not sure what you mean. But, Picard, it's funny, because Picard I actually liked more in the beginning, and then they blew it, starting with that Shattered whatever episode. Like 3 episodes before the end, the series just fell apart, which is a shame, because I was actually into it up to that point. Even with Admiral Pottymouth and stuff, I was still into that show. And if they had fixed the ending, Picard could have been an awesome show. Unfortunately, they completely crapped all over themselves. So as far as Lower Decks, we're only 3 episodes in, so I can't make a fair comparison. I saw the whole season of Picard. After the whole season of Lower Decks is over, ask me. She was like, now that's how I'm triggered, and she was all frustrated about Daniel, stop laughing about it. And that's something we got to, Daniel, and I'm going to pick on you for just a second, but I know you can take it because you're a good guy, all right? Just like we don't like it when someone may say something that you vehemently disagree with, just because she disagrees with you about Lower Decks doesn't mean that people should go off on it. And I didn't see Kowalski's thing, and if Kowalski was baiting at Mecha and back and forth, I don't need that kind of drama. You know what? I don't hate Mecha. I consider Mecha a friend. I don't know Kowalski, but I certainly don't hate him. I've disagreed with him a few times, but I don't hate the guy, right? Just like, Lore Reloaded is a friend, and I've disagreed with him on multiple occasions. But that doesn't, we need to stop hating the person. Please, people, stop the hate. Thomas says, it's a bad thing, 46 gigabytes shouldn't take that long. Oh, okay. Well, the Sony network has always taken forever. And LD says the animated series was worse that Lower Decks. You mean... are you talking about... So you're saying the animated series from the 70s was worse than Lower Decks? I would disagree with you on that. I think the animation was worse, but I don't think the series was worse. That was then, this is now. Okay. Daniel says, Section 31 is better than TNG. You know, that's funny, Daniel, because Section 31 as a show doesn't exist. So, no, that's actually a non sequitur. Springtime says, how's the Anti-Family doing? Pretty good, all things considered. MCRN says, how about remaking the 12 best episodes of TOS? No change to script, just updated VFX, modern effects using Enterprise, Defiant, Connie design, minor interior tweaks. I would love it, but they're not going to do it. Mega Tiger Ninja says, LOL, we'll all be dead in 20 years. Well, I hope not. There's a lot of you guys that are a lot younger than me that I don't expect to be. Now, when I say dead in 20 years, I mean in 20 years I'll be 72. And so, you know, I might not be dead, but I will definitely be closer. The difference of opinion is the spice of life. It'd be a boring world if we all had the same opinion. I agree. I totally agree. And, you know, and I've said before, but I'll say it again because it bears repeating, especially with the hate that's been flying around lately. If two people are in a room and they agree on everything, one of those people is unnecessary. Thomas says, do you know that an image of the animated series is the image that shows up for your stream? Yes, that is because I like that image because, you know what, honestly, the reason that I've been using that thumbnail on all my live streams lately is because I am so done with the hate. And notice what's in that image. Look at it carefully and you'll get it. And if you know that episode, you would get it. I just take the view that hating takes too much energy. Laziness does have its benefits. I would tend to agree, but I think that hating does take physical energy, but intellectually, hate is lazy. And I absolutely mean that. Hate is intellectually lazy. It's just going on raw emotion and turning that into this festering dislike of something that has no logic or rhyme or reason. Hate doesn't make sense. It's like when I did that whole thing about let that be your last battlefield. And you know what? The fandom menace and the people on the other side that don't have an official name, whatever they're called, they don't understand let that be your last battlefield. They would rather sit there and hate on them and say, but wait a minute, Anti-Trekker, they like Discovery, so they're bad. Wait a minute, they're Trump supporters, so they're bad. Wait a minute, they're Biden supporters, so they're bad. Watch Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. It's not the cause that is the problem. It's the hate. It doesn't matter. In fact, the cause is completely irrelevant. There is never, and I mean never, I don't tend to speak in absolutes, but this is an absolute. There is never a good reason to hate a group of people. Doesn't matter what group, even a group that you could say is completely despicable by definition, like racists. There's never a reason to hate a group of people. If the Federation had the Defiant from the In a Mirror Darkly during the Romulan War, how would that affect the Romulan War? Well, the Federation would have crushed the Romulans. Oh, look! I donated $1, apparently.
On my 72nd birthday, well, I'm claiming I'm that young. In 20 years we will have a subscriber stream. I wonder what super chat I will pick.
You know, it's funny that I should say that because I'm actually planning something as a subscriber stream, me. I really am. And I'm sorry I haven't been doing subscriber streams. I've been so crazy behind the scenes stuff that I can't really get into, that I've been dealing with. Not just work stuff, but also house stuff that I've had to do. I can't wait till things settle down. One day, maybe the channel will grow and I'll be able to do this full time, which would be awesome. And I do subscriber streams a couple times a week. But right now, I'm limited. But something that's coming that I think you're going to enjoy. Mr. CCDV says, Chief O'Brien is the most important person in the universe. NCO Corps rule the galaxy. I do think that was a great way to end that episode. The Fed says, damn it, now I have to go and think it over. RE, laziness, and hate. Oh, yeah, I know, that's a tough one. Antrigger, can I call you on Skype sometime? I need support from my friends soon because I'll be moving out soon. I'm really, really nervous and worried. I love living at home. Well, Daniel, you can try, but the problem is that I'm, except for when I'm actually live streaming, I very rarely have any free time. That's my biggest problem. Time is my ultimate enemy. And I've talked about this before, but honestly, like a typical day for me is I will get up usually about 6 in the morning. I have to walk the dog, and then there's a few things I have to do around the house. If I'm caught up on things, I start working on like videos and stuff, and then I start work, and then on some days I do morning live streams, but then I start work at about noon and usually work until about 9 p.m. Then I take the dog for her evening walk, and then I do an evening live stream for a couple hours, and so then I get to bed, depending, like if I cut off the live stream in 10 minutes, I'll go to bed around 11:30 and then start it all at 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. And that's a typical day for me. So I'm sorry. I know I want to be able to support you guys and hang out with you guys and talk to you guys, but I just don't have time very much, Daniel. And I love you, man, and I do appreciate it, but I'm very, very limited. The Fed puts in 5 more bucks. Fed, come on, man. You're going way too far, but thank you.
At Anti-Trekker, so what you're suggesting is the entire world is currently in the grip of the Beta Seer entity.
Yes. We've been bombarded by fear for the last 6 months. It's almost like people are driven to hate out of frustration and anger. It almost seems normal. Very disturbing trends. You're right, MCR. And thank you, Fed. I don't mean to be so quick about that, but what else can I say? You're right. The world is, and I think MCR and what you said, and that ties together. For the last 3 or 4 months with the whole coronavirus craziness and stuff. And then, of course, in the United States specifically, the whole thing with Mr. Floyd's death and all the controversy around that. And people have just been so frustrated. They've been cooped up in their house, and then and they're just done, and they've got to go out there and burn something to the ground. They're so frustrated because they don't think. And so we become intellectually lazy. And so what makes us angry, we start hating. And that's why we have people right now that have all these Batwoman crazy conspiracies out there about how, the Queen of England is kidnapping babies and eating them for breakfast or whatever. And that you have the coronavirus was this experiment by the Chinese to wipe out the rest of the world, and all this crap that's going around. It's just stupid fear and paranoia. We need to stop and think. But we forget to think. And so we just let our emotions run wild. We get, we're afraid, and our fears turn into paranoia. And that paranoia turns into hate. Rick Berman and Michael Pillar and Jerry Taylor and Ira and Stephen Bear, we are all responsible for TNG and DS9. New Trek needs to have someone like them. So far, I like Lower Decks. Well, I do think, and I think Mike McMahon could be the first in a new wave of horsemen like that. I would love to see that. As when you talk about Berman, Pillar, Taylor, and Bear, in Generation 2 of Trek, they were what Kuhn and Fontana were for Gen 1. And so And I truly believe that you need those horsemen, those people that are not the one. They're not. You know what? Most people up until after Gen 2 was over, most people didn't know who Rick Berman was. They didn't know who Michael Piller was. Heck, Ronald D. Moore. A lot of people didn't know who he was. But these people were the people that drove those shows, right? It doesn't matter what their title is. It doesn't matter what their job description is. Those are the people that made Trek great. Right, just like in Gen 1 Trek, people like Gene Kuhn and DC Fontana. And unfortunately, that people just think, oh, it's all Gene Roddenberry. No, it's not. It was these people. And we do need people like that in Gen 3 Trek. And I'm hoping, like I said, that Mike McMahon is the first. What Anti-Trekker is speaking is absolutes. It turns out he's a Sith. I like everything. I like nearly everything about Picard except for stuff with the androids and the ancient machines. Ironic, given that the narrative drive of the series. Man, should we not hate people blind? Let's see. Should we not hate people blinding police with lasers and burning down buildings? Maybe not hate the act. Maybe hate the act, not the perpetrator. Well, yeah, that's the thing, Mega. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. We should strongly disagree with a practice of doing. And I don't know if that's a specific example of something that's actually happened, because quite frankly, I don't watch the news very much anymore because it's too damn depressing. But if people are blinding police with lasers and stuff like that, and obviously a lot of buildings have been burnt down, I certainly am not saying that we should go, oh, that's okay. You can do what you want. I'm not saying we need to be dumbass hippies. I'm saying that we can disagree with those practices, and in fact, you know what you should be doing? And granted, if someone in your city, like if you happen to be walking down Main Street, right, and there's some police there, and some guy is standing there with a laser pointer trying to blind the police officer, you should stand in between the police officer and that person with a laser pointer. You know, the protesters that care, if people are shining laser pointers at the cops, then the genuine protesters should be rushing to defend the police from the laser pointers. 100%. I do believe in the golden rule. I do believe in treating people the way that they treat me. I do believe in treating people the way they treat me. Well, that's not the golden rule. That's more like, eye for an eye. Still kick their ass. Got a question. In Elite Dangerous, is there an exterior view while flying? Yes, but I never, ever, ever use it. And I think the default camera controls are the numeric keypad. Jeff says DS9 better than TNG, better than TOS, better than Enterprise, better than Voyager, better than the animated series, better than Picard, better than Discovery, better than Lower Decks, in my opinion. Jeff, you are Batwoman crazy on that one. I love you, man, but I think you are crazy on that one. Fed says, in that case, where's my bloody sword? I'd like a kill nice and slicey, even if it's Turkish. I'd like a kill. I can't remember what those are called, how to say that. Well, I didn't say I was giving you a sword, but no, yeah, and for those of you that don't get it, that's what the beta. Is that what it's called? The Beta 12A entity? I don't. Because that's the planet where the colony supposedly was. Okay. Did you see the whole George Floyd video? Wasn't hate from the cops. Floyd was disrespectful. Is this why the MS media tried to hide it? Me no other. I'm not going to argue about that. Not going to argue about that. Yes, I have seen the whole video, and I think people that are trying to justify the police action based on that video don't understand police work. That's all I can say. Tiki of Doom says, yeah, well, remember when you called me paranoid for telling you to get toilet paper? You know what? We didn't stock up on toilet paper, and we did just fine. Mariner's the best Trek character in a long time. I disagree, but Boromir actually is. And Rutherford and Tindy aren't bad side characters, but unfortunately, they're but Mariner and Boromir, they play off each other because they're dead opposites. The problem, though, is Mariner is overly competent. If Mariner was a slacker, every bit the attitude that she has, but she didn't kick ass at everything, it would be way better. Daniel says, sing the Goldfinger song. I don't know the lyrics. I just know Goldfinger. That's all I know. I don't remember the rest of it. I do. I think it's like the man with the Midas touch or something, but that's all. I do support law enforcement who do not cross the line. Well, that's fine, but that's not the point. The point is, you shouldn't hate anybody. With so many new Trek series in such a short period of time, do you think that Discovery, Picard, and SNW, Strange New Worlds, will there be 3 seasons and end even if they improve? I hope not. I think if Discovery Season 3 is awesome, I hope there's a Season 4. The problem is that the hatred coming from the fandom needs to stop, and we need to just focus on what's actually happening, not just hate it because it's Discovery. And Dean throws in $5. Thank you, Piano Dean.
Home. Let the stream begin. The new parody is going to be really funny.
It really will. And you know what? When you finish that, do tell me when you're getting close, because I do want to focus on making that into a new opening credits thing, because I think that'll be good, especially considering some of the stuff going on. No, the default camera controls are not the numeric. I tried that. Oh, well, that's what works on mine. But maybe it's because I use joysticks that's the default, because I set the joystick configuration. Don't know. All right, so Mr. Cat says she's refreshing now. Stuffy stereotype Starfleet and Honorary Sue. I disagree. Taro says, I have to go, friend, and I are doing a Jaws marathon. We're starting Jaws 3. Please pray for me. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Jaws 3 sucks. Jeff says, your opinion on Batwoman crazy. What would your ranking be? TOS obviously at the top. Yes. If I were ranking, okay, I will do this, but then I'm going to wrap it up, guys, so I apologize, but I can't do. I do need to wrap it up because I gotta get some rest. All right, so thinking of all the Star Trek shows. Number 1, TOS. Number 2, Deep Space Nine. Number 3, I'm gonna put. Ooh, that's where it gets tougher. I'm gonna go ahead and just because I know I'm going to go Enterprise, number 3. I know that's probably a surprise for a lot of people. And this is just my mood right now. Number 4, TNG. Number 5, TAS. Number 6, Voyager. Number 7, Lower Decks. Number 8, Picard. And at the bottom of the barrel, Discovery. I hope I got them all. I might have missed one. But with that, guys, I do... And I got to say... MCRN. As far as Generation 2 Trek, I agree with you. The Nova class is a badass looking ship. I love the Nova class. I wish there was a whole show set on a Nova class ship. That is a badass little ship. But I do need to wrap it up, guys, and I'm sorry that I do need to cut it off, but I do because I got to get some food in my belly. So with that, guys, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for putting up with me as I rant and rave. But please, don't hate. And in fact, don't run away as soon as the credits start to roll. If you're still watching this, listen to the words of the great Piano Dean.
Making your way with the nerds today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from hating JJ sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to just get laid? Sometimes you wanna go where all the Trekkies know your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be in a galaxy where Star Trek isn't lame. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Turds of a feather flock together, that's what we believe. We know a place that's got you covered, a place to get relief. Wouldn't you like to say me Pooh? Sometimes you wanna go where Turner-Stanleys know your name, and all Kurogans are to blame. You wanna be where you can see Kuroga go up in flames. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
You son of a bitch, anti-tracker! You son of a bitch, anti-tracker!
Badass little ship. But I do